What's up, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome back for another Game of Thrones Season 7 spoiler video. Before we get started, I want to make this very clear. This video contains major spoilers and leaks that may potentially reveal what will happen during an entire episode this season. I have no idea how much of this will be true or not, but if you don't want anything spoiled by hearing this leak, I would recommend stopping the video right now. I know most people are very skeptical about leaks, which I am too when it comes to certain ones, but it appears that the original plot leak is almost 100% accurate, so hopefully some of you are a little bit more open-minded with leaks now. I try not to rule anything out until I see enough evidence to prove it right or wrong, but with this leak I'm about to show you, I'm still unsure of how much of this is going to be true. Some of it has already been confirmed by photos, promos, and trailers, but some of it is still unknown. I'm gonna be honest with you right up front. Some of this leak sounds pretty damn crazy. In fact, while I was making this video, I had to stop myself and ask myself if I wanted to finish making the video or not. So I ran a poll on Twitter and I asked all of my Twitter followers if they wanted me to make this video, and the majority of you said yes, so here it is. First, I gotta give a shout out to White's King on Twitter for sending me this information. The leak was originally uploaded on a channel called Freaky Doctor. As far as I know, it's a Spanish channel, but someone translated the entire video and posted the translation. I'm going to put the link to his channel down below, and I will put the link to the translated post down below too, just in case you want to see it for yourself from the original source. But I'll let you all be the judge, so let's begin. The episode starts with the excursion beyond the wall, which includes Jon, Gendry, Thoros, Beric, Jorah, Tormund, and the Hound, and 2 or 3 other unknown characters. Sir Davos does stay behind because he isn't much of a fighter, and he would only slow down the others. The mission continues through the north. As they travel, a lot of conversations come up. This is when Jon offers Longclaw to Jorah. Jon Snow says that it belongs to him since it belonged to his family, but Jorah says, "No, you should keep it. I'm not worthy of carrying this sword. My father gave it to you for a reason." Tormund and the Hound have a conversation about Brienne, which the Hound is amazed at how much Tormund admires and likes Brienne. Jon and Beric Dondarrion now have one thing in common, which is being brought back to life by R'hllor, and they discuss what it might mean and what their purposes might be. They continue north by trying to follow the vision the Hound saw in the flames. Finally, they see the mountain shaped like an arrowhead. This is when a large blizzard starts, and they hear a weird growl which they can't seem to recognize. But then one of the unknown men tries to find out what it is. That's when out of nowhere, a reanimated polar bear shreds the unknown man to pieces. But because of the heavy blizzard, no one is sure what has happened. And that's when the beast attacks Thoros of Myr. The beast stomps Thoros and it gives him a few slashes with his claws, but Thoros is also given the bear a few slashes with his flaming sword. When the Hound sees the flaming sword, he freezes in fear of the flames. Between everyone there, they are able to kill the beast, but Thoros is badly wounded. Beric tries to cauterize his wounds with his flaming sword to try and save his life. The mission must continue, though with a man down and Thoros balancing between life and death, things are looking dire. This is when they realize with the reanimated polar bear, that means that White Walkers are not too far, and they must hurry, but they know they cannot avoid them. And that's when they run into a horde of whites and one White Walker. This is when Jon battles his second White Walker 1 vs 1. As Jon fights the White Walker, the others try to capture a white, but it's hard because there's other whites also attacking at the same time. But at last, they finally capture one and either put him in chains or gag him or her to try to immobilize it. At this point, the White Army attacks all at once without mercy, and the only thing the group can do is run. They decide they need to split up as they run to increase their chances of survival. Jon then commands Gendry to run back to Eastwatch by the sea and send a raven to Daenerys to come and rescue them. After they run for a while, they come together on a frozen lake. All the movement and fighting eventually breaks up part of the ice, and the group of men are stuck in the middle of the lake on a large piece of ice that floats above the other smaller pieces of ice. They then make a circle and wait for the incoming horde of whites, but the horde doesn't come right away, so they have to wait till they attack. While all of this is going on, Thoros of Myr eventually succumbs to his injuries and dies. Beric then takes his flaming sword and burns Thoros to avoid him coming back as a white. The Night King comes out from afar and stares at Jon Snow, and Jon stares back without fear. The lake begins to refreeze over again, and the horde of whites begin to rush Jon and the group. Tormund is almost overrun during the attack, but he is saved by a fellow companion. During this time, some of them are fighting alone and others are fighting together. It's chaos and not looking good when all of a sudden we hear the famous dragon roars of Drogon, Viserion, and Rhaegal. Daenerys has come to save the day, but she must first help fight back the whites and find a place to land that wouldn't cause the ice to break so her dragons or Jon and company don't drown. Everyone starts to get on Drogon and Rhaegal as Viserion kills whites from above. Jon stays back, fighting whites on his own to let the group board the dragons. Jon stands there basically saying, "Here I am," so the whites will attack him and not his companions, that way they can make an escape. As the group is trying to escape, the Night King takes his spear made out of crystal ice and he launches it at Viserion's neck, who is flying overhead. With one throw, the spear goes into the dragon's neck and brings it down. Viserion crashes into the frozen lake, which breaks the ice, making him go into the water and sink under the water. Jon then runs to climb onto Drogon, but he falls when Drogon takes off, and Jon falls into the lake as well. Daenerys sees that Jon is pretty much a goner. Somehow the survivors are able to keep the captured white with them. After all this, a wounded Jon gets out of the lake, but he's in trouble because the whole army of the dead is there surrounding him. This is when his uncle Benjen comes in to save him, and he has his ball of fire and starts killing several whites. He clears out a section of the whites and he gives Jon his horse so he can get out of there and make it back to the wall. But Benjen is presumably killed while Jon rides off. The survivors make it back to Eastwatch, and Daenerys is traumatized and heartbroken for the loss of her child, Viserion, as any mother would be, but the mission must continue. Jon arrives at Eastwatch by the Sea, badly wounded. He is loaded onto his ship headed towards King's Landing along with Daenerys and the others. The Hound is trusted with taking the white to the dragon pit. On the ship, Daenerys goes to check on the wounded Jon Snow. While checking on Jon, he realizes how hurt Daenerys actually is, so he tries to console her, which is when Daenerys tells him, "He was like a son to me. It's like they have taken my son from me." Daenerys begins to tell Jon, "I promise I will defeat the Night King." Jon tells Daenerys, if she does indeed join him with fighting the Night King, he will bend the knee. Jon then calls her Dany, which surprises her, and Daenerys says, "No one has called me Dany since my brother." Jon then says, "What would you like me to call you? My Grace? My Queen?" Daenerys says, "She didn't mean it like that. It's just been a while since someone has called her that, and it was very personal." Jon goes on to say he would bend the knee, but he physically can't because he is so hurt. This takes Daenerys by surprise again, and she says, "You would bend the knee? What about those who follow you?" Alright folks, I'm going to stop the video right here for a second so I can show you something. Another leak came out a few months ago, and the leak had 7 pages from the Season 7 script for Game of Thrones. One of those pages was this scene between Jon and Daenerys on the ship. I'll put the leaked script on the screen right now so you can pause the video and read it if you're able to zoom in on it. According to this leaked script, all this does happen on the ship with Jon and Daenerys, and it does sound like Daenerys is talking about one of her dragons being dead, which is very interesting. But once again, I have no idea if this is actually real or not, but it does back up the leak that I've been reading you, if it is in fact true. But let's get back to the video. After Jon and Dany have their discussion on the ship, it then cuts back to the north where the Night King orders Viserion to be pulled from the lake. The whites pull him out of the lake using chains. Viserion is dead, but then he opens his eyes as blue as the Night King's. Then the episode ends. There is more to this leaked episode that I'm about to read to you. Apparently the person who uploaded this leak wanted to keep all the scenes beyond the wall separate from the other stuff. Because so much happened north of the wall, they didn't want to bounce back and forth and make it too confusing. So the rest of the video is out of order. In Winterfell, the Stark sisters are in a bit of an argument. Arya brings the letter she found in Littlefinger's room and she confronts Sansa with the letter she signed and asked her what it's about. Sansa says she had to do it to survive. So apparently what this part of the leak is about, if you haven't read the original plot leak, apparently what happens is, when Arya comes back to Winterfell, Littlefinger tries to get Arya and Sansa to bump heads and go against each other. Littlefinger tells Arya that Sansa wrote a letter to her brother Robb, back when he was at war with the Lannisters. Cersei made her write a letter to Robb to bend the knee and swear fealty to Joffrey, what Sansa did do under duress from Cersei, which I think did happen back in Season 1 or Season 2. and that's what Littlefinger's trying to use to say Sansa basically was doing whatever Cersei wanted, to try and get Arya and Sansa to go against each other. Later in the episode, Littlefinger tells Sansa that Jon has left them because he doesn't care about the North. Sansa tells Littlefinger that Jon is the king and he needs to stop trying to get into her head. Sansa tells Brienne that she needs to go to the Dragon Pit to represent her since she's the lady in Winterfell. Brienne doesn't want to go at first since she swore an oath to protect her, but when she finds out Jaime will be there, she agrees to go. She believes she will be safe. She truly believes Jaime to be an honorable man. Before Daenerys leaves Dragonstone to help Jon beyond the wall, she is seen being nervous for Jon and Jorah, but mostly for Jon. Tyrion sees how much Daenerys starts to care about Jon and is uninterested in anything but news about Jon, which is when she receives a raven from the north asking for help, which she goes to help Jon. Tyrion pleads with Daenerys. He tells her she can't go because if she goes and died, then everything they have been trying to accomplish will be for nothing. Daenerys jumps on Drogon and leaves with her other 2 dragons following right behind her. So what do you all think about this leak? Do you believe any of it? If you're a long-time subscriber to my channel, then you should know most of this has already been confirmed. We know all those characters are going to go north together. We also know there is going to be a frozen lake that's involved with this scene as well. And there is fires this far north that could be dragon fire. Jon does look to be riding off on Benjen's horse as well. I can't speak for everything here, but some of this does look to be true. But like I said earlier in the video, I wasn't sure how much was true, so I was skeptical if I should even make a video about this or not. But most of you on Twitter voted yes, so I decided to make it anyway, that way you can at least hear what this was about. But comment below and let me know what you think about it. Thanks for stopping by and watching the video anyway, I really do appreciate that. And I want to give a big shout out to my Patreon supporters also. I love all of you, have a good day, I'll see you down below. Bye.